Hey. Hello. Wait. Yeah, you can hear me. Okay, cool. Okay, hello. Welcome back to the Galorants Learning Program. I am Coach Vixie. Today I'll be talking about team play and positioning because it's something that a lot of people requested. I put a poll up in Galorants asking what I should teach, and team play and positioning was the one that we went for. If anyone is able to volunteer, that'd be great. If not, it's fine, because I'll be talking about team play and positioning, so if I can have someone to be in a custom and stand in a space, that would be great. If not, I'll just pick Killjoy and go, hey, here's my turret. Okay, great. Let me pull up my Valorant real quick. Oh, I already have my Valorant up. Amazing. Okay, cool. Let me hop into the practice range and I will begin to talk about it. So I'm going to start by talking about positioning because it is easier because you've got to sort out your positioning yourself before you can start considering how you're positioning around your team. Let's get you standing in a sensible position. Okay, great. I'm going to grab Killjoy real quick. And I am going to just do the alarm bot thing. Partly because it's super cute. Look how cute it is. I need to recall it, don't I? Okay, it runs away. If you haven't seen this before, this is great. I just needed Fade to be here. She doesn't appear unless you do the alarm bot thing. Hi. I'm looking at the alarm bot, not... Okay. Yeah. I don't actually have to follow it, but it's adorable. Hi, Brim. And it's hiding, being cute. Okay, right. Okay, so now that we have Fade in the range, let's talk about positioning. First thing I want to talk about is, obviously, crosshair placement, because you can be standing in the... Feel like you're in online school again. Yeah. So, I mean, Valorant is it's a game. I teach. It's what I do. I'm a coach. So, yeah, let's look at this. So crosshair placement is really important because you can be standing in a great spot, but if your crosshair isn't somewhere sensible, you're not going to be able to use that positioning. This goes way better. Thank you, Shiku. Okay, so crosshair placement is basically putting your crosshair where you don't have to aim, and it's going to be really easy once you actually peek when you see the enemy. So if I expect an enemy to peek and I hold here if I'm expecting them to wide swing, or here if I'm expecting them to go really narrow, that means when they peek, my crosshair is on their head. You don't want to be aiming at the floor. You want to be aiming at just head height, but head height itself won't do you very much because the enemy is not going to appear out of nowhere. You can hold super wide if you're expecting a jet dash, but otherwise probably not worth it. So you want to be positioning at head height next to corners. There's loads of map markers, any box like this. There's lots of doors, there's lots of, markers, there's decoration, all these things. So yeah, crosshair placement, head height, but you don't want to be going around corners like this because that's, if your crosshair's moving, you're not making life easy for yourself. And also if you're going around the corner and they're standing here and they're aiming at you, then you're dead. So instead we pre-aim the angle we want to be at through the wall, and then we move using side strafing. And you should do this every time you move forward, not just long angles, but every single angle. Now Fade is quite wide here, so I would Oh, I don't have good crosshair placement here. There we go. So in order to actually go around this corner, I would be aiming about here. And go around the corner, and you need good control over when you're stopping. We all know what crosshair placement is. Your crosshair placement probably isn't perfect because I coach immortals whose crosshair placement isn't perfect. So think about it. Okay, let's think positioning. So let me pull up my actual list of what I was going to talk about. Great. So when you're positioning, and this is a big one, especially if you're low rank, even more true if you're high rank, but you probably already do this, and that is, if you want to peek something, if you want to stand somewhere, don't stand in the middle of the open like this. Because if you see an enemy, where do you go? What do? You have to commit. You have to stay in that fight. You want to give yourself options. You don't want to be stuck out here. So if you're holding something, you want to be standing near cover. You want to be thinking about what you can move behind. You always need to have an escape route. Because your life is the most important thing. I'm not talking about, scrims or tournaments, but your life is the most important thing. And the reason why your life is so important is because, okay, let's say you're gold. You don't want to be gold. Why would you let random gold players decide how your game goes? You're going to die and let them play like gold players, and then that's not how you hit plat. You do not climb by dying early and letting your team do all the work. Because you'll be sat there for, a minute watching your team do whatever they're going to do, while you're going, no, stop, why are you peeking that? No, just use your ultimate. What are you doing? But if you were alive, then you wouldn't have to worry about that because you'd actually be having impact on the round. There's a lot of other reasons to stay alive. So yeah, you always need to be thinking about your escape route. And the step up from this is you want to be thinking about the enemy's abilities. Like, let's say I am holding here because I'm expecting, imagine I'm expecting Reyna to walk out of here, right? Sure, maybe I could hold here. That could be great. I'm holding for her, I'm expecting her to try an entry into this space, which is not a site, but we'll pretend it is. And then I step behind cover. Okay, great, but she has a layer. She's going to blind. She is not going to dry pick this. If she's entering onto a site, she is going to throw her ability. And how do I account for this? How do I position taking this into account? Now, if I could stand on this side, then when she throws it wide, I still have a nice narrow angle, so the layer doesn't get me and I could still see it and fire and step behind cover. It also means that I don't want to be holding, here with a shotgun because I can't see anything, because we know they're going to flash when they entry. If you're holding an angle and you're thinking, okay, they smoke heaven every single time they enter onto this site, maybe I shouldn't hold heaven if I want to get a pick. Because they are, we know they're going to do this. They've done this every single time. Let's position accordingly. So positioning relative to what the enemy has, what their abilities are, is amazing. So if you play Sentinel, if you play Killjoy, if you're holding a site and you go, they have a jet. Okay, we know she's going to do that little dash smoke. Don't position right near the entrance. Let me find an entrance. 1 second. Okay, yeah. So this would be the entrance to site. This is ascent. So you don't want to be positioning here because you don't want your whole setup like this, because Jet's just going to smoke and dash past your alarm bot, and then this does nothing. So what if, right, instead you have a setup along the lines of this. So what this does is, as they go onto site, it sets off the alarm bot. Jet dashes, she lands here into that. Let's say she decides to go the other way. Her team, she dashes on site, her team turn. You have covered it properly. And this is just positioning and using our abilities and making our round plan based around what the enemy has. And this sounds really obvious. But you'd be amazed how many people will just not even think. They'll hold an angle, even in a clutch, and they'll be like, I'm against KO. And then not expect the flash. Absolutely mind-blowing. Or they'll see Cypher has his ultimate, and then not do anything. Or start the round, they press tab, they do that little threat assessment, and they go, okay, Chamber is, they're on eco, and Chamber has his ultimate. I'm going to peek. They don't even look, they don't check. They don't position around the fact that Chamber has his ultimate, and very clearly at the start of the round, he is going to pop his ultimate, and he's going to be holding for you, and you're going to die. That is a great time, by the way, to just hit the voice chat button, maybe even type something and say, careful, Chamber has his ultimate so your team don't die. Maybe they'll do it anyway, but you do what you can. You're decreasing the chances that your team are going to throw. So, that's going more into team play, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, positioning rule for everyone coming late, have an escape path. Think about their abilities, think about if we think they're going to wide peak, if we think they're going to go narrow, and we don't hold the angle here, we hold it here. So that if you miss your shots, when they try to return fire, you are not in their crosshair. You move. So let's say I peek this. Like, if I think Fade is here, I don't want to peek her like this because, like, oh no. If she shoots me back, I'm dead. I don't want to put all of my eggs in one basket. I don't want to assume I'm going to land that shot, which is why you'll see a lot of players in high rank do this kind of thing. Where when they think the enemy's there, they go really narrow. Now, if you think the enemy's holding you, that this is a pre-fire rate, so I'm not actually waiting until I see her and then firing. There's a huge difference between this and this. So I don't actually know if she's there at this point. I'm just pre-firing where I think she is. Who else loves Blub Blub? It is the best gun. Blub Blub is best gun. Neptune Vandal, I suppose I should say. Look at the blub 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 blub. It's got the best noise. I had it on the sort of like choose your random favorite, and then I just was like, actually no, blub blub better. And like the dark version goes so well with the right buddy. I'm getting distracted. Okay. Now, who here only solo queues? Anyone very rarely solo queue? Prefer to play with your friends? Probably. You duo, you trio, you stack. I imagine that's most players. Most players would prefer to play with a friend. So if that's true, I see so many people. They duo, maybe they'll send me a VOD of them duoing. I do ask for solo, but sometimes they ask me. Sometimes they send me a duo or a trio. And they're not using the fact that they are duo. They're not using that to their advantage. Think about it. If you're playing together, you have good comms. You can combo your ability together. You can always support each other. You can be pushing the same objectives together. For example, you go, hey, Chamber has his ultimate, or we are on eco, we need to get a gun. Let's work together to make this happen. You have someone who is guaranteed to work with you, who will come, who will listen. Maybe Fades, maybe your allied Fade, who you're pre-made with, says, I'm going to Prowler. That means you're in position to support it and try outfit. This gives you a huge advantage over anyone who is not solo queue. The best combo, by the way, is Initiator Duelist. So, you know, you don't need a Pocket Sage. Pocket Sage will heal you every, like, once around. Okay, that's nice. But wouldn't you rather have someone play like Sova or Fade and just set up kills for you for free? Like, if you're playing Jet, or maybe your boyfriend's playing Jet, and you're used to playing Fade, try playing Sova. You're going to follow him around and be like, it's all right, I'll heal you, I'll heal you. What if instead he's about to go in? You send an arrow, it reveals absolutely everyone, he gets 3 kills. You play breach, you stun them. You flash them. You flash back sight as Jet goes in. Vixie is appealing to the E-daters. Yeah, absolutely. What I'm saying is, stop playing Sage if you're an E-dater. I know she's pretty, but you would be having way more impact and feed way more kills to your partner if you don't. And if you have a friend who only plays Duelist, try playing like not Sentinel. Like maybe your duo is like a Neon main or something. Great, play something that can help that. Sage is not the way, because Sentinel's job is to defend space. You're maintaining space. Duelist's job is to move forward into space. Sentinel's job, sorry, the Initiator's job is to set up that space. Controller does a bit of everything. So how does, I'm going to defend this space here, help my Jet who's over there? Doesn't. Okay, right. E-data rant aside. Yes. If you take nothing else away from this, if you are queued with somebody, play with them. Plan the round together. Say, can you flash for me? Can you smoke for me? I'm going to hold long. Let's play on the same site so we can trade each other. So now we know about our positioning. We know we should position it around the enemy's abilities, what they've done in the past, and we should always make sure we have an escape path. Always think, if they rush this, like if they rush my site, can I escape? And if the answer is no, why? Like, why not? Like, are you going to ace them? Probably not. Live for retake. Another thing about your position is you have to think about what your objective is. What's your win condition? Do you have to waste the time for the bomb to go down? Do you have to get their abilities? Like, do you have to sort of waste their util? Do you have to get kills? Do you need to find 1v1s? Because that's obviously going to inform your positioning. I can say position really carefully and peek carefully, but if you know that you don't need to do that, or this doesn't actually help you, don't do that. You don't need to peek. If the bomb is down and you're like 5v2, you don't need to go, oh, let me peek solo and see if they're coming. This is stupid positioning. Don't do it. Because it's a 5v2 and the enemy has to kill you all and defuse the spike if they want to win. So what are you doing? Stop it. Now, this brings me on to my next point. If you need to be playing around your team's position, you need to be enabling them. Let's say this is the site. Why did I run away from the site? I'm going to go back to my site. Actually, even better, let's use Fade here. Hello, Fade. So let's say Fade is like holding this angle, right? Like the spike is planted like round here and Fade is holding this. This is not a good position, but we can't control her. We can't, like, you can say in chat, hey, can you stand closer to cover? They're not gonna. This is someone who is holding and wants to get the kills. So what do? Do we let her just die and suicide onto this? No. We don't go, well, that's your problem. I'm going to go stand over here. We go, okay, my teammate is doing something which is objectively incorrect, but it is better for me to try and enable that, to support it a little bit without dying. As long as you don't die, you can go, okay, Fade is holding here and she wants to, because, you know, she wants to see what's coming. She wants to make first contact. So rather than being like, I'm going to hold it over here, you go, okay, I'm going to swing off Fade. I'm going to position. So that I'm just going to stand here and I'm going to stare at the map. As soon as she sees anything or I hear gunshots or anything, I'm going to peek out and be there. So she is in a 2 versus 1 situation. This means that at worst, I trade her, or at least get a bit of damage. because the enemy is shooting Fade and not me. This is good positioning. Now, if Fade isn't there, then this is bad positioning because I'm solo. If Fade isn't there, maybe Fade is holding over here, and I am the one peeking to try and make first contact. This is not a good situation. Even holding narrow like this, if my goal here is to commit to the fight, it's a bad play. My goal here is to get the info and fall back to the next angle, and the next angle, and the next angle, and the next angle. So you're making them fight for every single bit of space. And this is another way to think about positioning. Let's say you're at the start of the round, your teammate is pushing the barrier, like, let's say this is the barrier. I'm going to put an alarm bot to represent the barrier. And your teammate is standing here. What are they going to do? They're going to push out and they're going to try and fight the enemy first. They're going to make first contact. If you're busy standing like over here being like, it's all right, I'm defending the site, this is a bad position. You have mispositioned because you are not supporting your teammate who's standing very close to the barrier. Let's say this is your teammate. You need to support this. Your teammate pushes out and you don't have to die. You don't have to, die on this hill. But maybe you can be behind them, maybe trade them, be a little bit smarter than they are. Let's say you're playing Viper or Brimstone, even Sage. You're playing Viper, you see your teammates doing this and you go, no, that's not good. Or maybe you're too far away. You're in post plant and then you sort of you're in post plant situation, you're chilling on site, you notice your teammate has decided to push out into their spawn, looking for them. As soon as they encounter the enemy, they're going to die, like coin flip. But what if you throw your wall between them and where you think the enemy's going to come from, and then you put the wall up? Suddenly she has something to play around. You've given her escape. It's slowed out the enemy. It's increased her chances of success. This is a way to position and use your abilities to enable your team. So we don't want our team to go solo. Sometimes it's like, okay, well, you do that and like this, it is not worth me supporting you. Okay, so I am going to load into a custom so I can demonstrate some things. 1 second. You can enjoy Viper dancing. Does anyone have any questions so far? Any comments? Any, oh, I do that. I should probably not do that. Viper dance is pretty amazing, yeah. Any map preferences? Oh, you do that. You should probably not do that. Hi, Alex. How you doing? So, okay, let's grab Icebox because this is a problem. Like how I mentioned playing duo, but actually playing with your duo. Yeah, like imagine you have 5 random Radiant players. Just imagine them just like, imagine you're in like a Radiant lobby. Everyone on your team is solo queue. You're great players. Like maybe you're even like all of you are in the top 10 players in the world. This is like top Radiant. Everyone's top 10. Probably not going to get a lobby like that, but but all of you are solo. And then you're playing against Fnatic or G2 Gozen or Team Liquid or Crew. The enemy is also Radiant, but they're playing together. They have strategies and they are communicating. They are comboing their utility. Maybe they're doing that fade raise thing. All of that stuff. You're going to lose. If your team is all solo and the enemy is all pre-made, you should probably lose that game because the people who are pre-made just are playing together better. This is a team game. So it's better. She's so creepy. I love her. Okay. So let's say we have a teammate standing here. Start of the round, you're playing on defense. You see your teammate standing here. Where do you stand? I see a lot of people go and hold this angle. I see a lot of people do this. How should somebody position if their teammate is standing here? Anyone in chat? Should we below them? Yeah, that works. So the issue, yeah, you can be below, you could be here. Basically, like you could be here as well. Or EMEA's ready to swing off the right play contact. Yeah, so basically, I see some people. Oh, we got a sub. Thank you. Thank you on behalf of Galorants. Sometimes I see people try and support plays like this from here. This is bad because this person makes contact first. And if you're trying to play off a teammate, you should always be thinking who makes contact first. What is their sightline? This sightline is all the way to belt, so this is where the enemy is going to see them. Your teammate sees them on belt and it sees them here. You need, and we don't want our teammates to fight 1v1, so we don't want this little pretend teammate to be fighting the enemy solo, so you should position below. Now this is different if you're stacked, because if you are stacked or if you're on a team, you can reasonably rely on your teammate to stand here and as soon as they make contact, fall off, which means that you can actually hold other angles. But since we cannot control our teammates, we can assume they are all killjoy turrets. I cannot tell this turret to move. I cannot tell this turret not to shoot at the first thing it sees and just stand there and keep shooting. I cannot tell it to disengage or reposition. So when you're not pre-made with someone, you have to randos are bots. They are, of course, people, but they are not within your control. And in a way, humanizing your teammates too much, thank you for the hydrate, humanizing your teammates too much can do you some harm. Because suddenly you're like, why did you do that? Why didn't you do this? And you're focusing on your team. You're having expectations of them. You're wanting to be able to control what they're doing, which you can't. And if you're focused on what your team are doing or not doing, or the fact that they threw this ability, or they're holding this stupid angle, or they didn't trade you, or they're somewhere on the other side of the map, you can't change that. You can communicate. You can say, hey, I'm holding this, I'm swinging this. Can we play together? Hey, can we have a crossfire? But realistically, you just have to look at what they're doing and calm to the best of your ability and assume that you can't change it, so you make the best of a bad situation. So this becomes a 2v1, and then you win. And I also want to say, if you are wanting to play aggressive, if you're wanting to make first contact, if you're wanting to peek or something, let's say you're wanting to get this orb, start of the round, you need to communicate this. You need to say this to your team. Huge part of team play is using your words, and I know that it's really hard because Galorant is a community of minority gender and female players, and we all know how toxic people are. You know, they go, you know, you hear people and they go, oh, that's a lady voice. I'm not going to listen to anything you say. I don't respect you. You might even get people flaming you, people being toxic, and that really sucks. But in order to calm effectively, you do not need to be able to hear your team. You can just mute your entire team. And then if they give you good vibes, you can remute them. You can unmute them. But if you are playing someone and you go, hey, I want to get that orb, or I'm going to peek, or I'm going to push out, or I'm going to hold B long, or something, or I'm going to push down tube. This is going to... Your Sentinel players and your team are going to love you for saying that. Because let's say I'm playing Killjoy. I don't play much Killjoy, but let's say I want to do my setup like, you know, here. This setup is absolutely useless. It does nothing to my teammate who wants to push up and help this. And if my team has set up back here, the Sentinel is defending this space, and I'm going to move past that and be entirely unsupported and be alone. No, if you can say, I'm going to get this orb. Maybe you're playing Viper, maybe you smoke it. You say, I'm going to smoke the orb and try and get it. Then your teammate might actually stand with you. I don't know if that's a good Killjoy setup. Probably. Covers mid, right? Covers there, covers all your angles. Not a Killjoy main. I'm just using her because she has a bot. It's so important to think about space, to think about what your team are doing, to think about what the enemy are doing. This is all going to determine your positioning. Now, you the Killjoy main taking notes. I do obviously have a team that I am the coach of, so, you know, I do roughly know how to play every agent. So, let's have a think about... Is it reasonable to ask yourself, am I in the best possible position to support my team? Yes, but also think, am I supported by my team? And also think, are my team doing anything to gain impact? Because your team can all be standing in base and you can be like, it's all right, I'm supporting them, but you're not actually doing anything. Sometimes you got to make first contact. Sometimes you just have to have impact. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your team is buy an operator, kill one person, and then back out and chill so that it's a 5v4. Another important part of team play, if you're in ranked, and this sucks, and no one likes this, is babysitting your team's mental. So that's things like saying, nice try. Things like trying to keep coming. And if you mute everyone and you still keep coming, they can still hear you. So if you're just consistently positive and you're trying and you're managing to have some impact and you're saying, hey, nice try, or do you want my skin? Maybe you can make a bit of a joke. You know, someone clutches like a 4K or lands like a really good shot and you go, whoa, what was that shot? What did you have for dinner? What do I have to eat to have that kind of shot, you know? People find that funny. It's great. And it doesn't have to be clean and unique because you're in games with different people every time. Use Adderall personally. Legal things. Okay, I personally have ADHD. I have ADHD medication, but this does not help your team. Okay. That's fine, but it will not help your team. I also have ADHD. I have ADHD, so I play Raze. Just like, I have ADHD, so I have satchel brain when I play Raze, and I just like run at people. I just like satchel at them. Terrible way to be. Don't do it. Use about 4 death matches between matches. That's possibly a bit excessive. So on days when I play Valorant, which is admittedly not that much, I'm wanting to just grind a bunch because I haven't played Valorant seriously and properly since like maybe Act 2 because I've been coaching a lot. But you know, sometimes I just play like 10, 11 games, which is a lot. I use death matches between games if I feel like, oh, my aim has cooled down. Because Valorant has a lot of downtime between actually shooting people, and it can be helpful. I also aim train during games, like when I'm dead or between rounds. Learning to position better is something you struggle with. Okay, step 1, if you want to learn to position better, is stand near cover, have an escape route. This means you live a bit longer. Number 2, be aware of where your team is and what they are doing, and try and get a feel for what they're thinking. Because if you can do that, you can anticipate what they're doing. So I personally think that solo queuing is, even if it's not very fun, is one of the best things that you can do if you want to be a better player or if you want to be on a team. It sounds counterintuitive, but it can be easy to use Teamplay as a crutch. It can be easy to use Teamplay as how to think when solo queuing. Think, I want to don't try to control your team. Don't be afraid to meet them. There are other teams, there are other games. You will not win every game. You will miss shots that you think that, like, you will miss shots. You'll whiff, you'll mess up your utility, you will make mistakes. You will go, I need to stop crouching, and then you crouch. So how can we apply this stuff on the attack side? Okay, this is slightly harder because I don't have anyone in the game with me. So I'm going to use pings and shooting the floor as an example. Okay, so let's say our team wants to enter. Okay. Let's say you're not playing duelist. Let's say there's someone in front of you here, right? As your team swings, you need to be behind them, so that any fight they get into is a 2v1. You need to hug them, you need to hold their hand. You need to be close enough to kiss them. Not behind them, because then they'll just shoot straight through the enemy and hit you. Shoot your teammate and hit you, sorry. Wow, I've called your teammate the enemy. Sometimes, but that's not the point. Yeah, just a little handhold. You want to be with them as they go and push here. You notice they don't clear this angle. You clear it for them, and then you support them. You want to be right on their heels. When your team entries, you want to be behind them. I don't care if you're playing Sage, if you're playing Cypher, you need to be behind your duelist, behind the entry, making sure this works, because it is a really terrible thing. Little kiss. It is a really terrible thing to push onto site as a duelist and go, all right, oh no, I died backside. And then your team are standing over here in this choke point and you are alone. No one's trading you. You died for nothing. You got this space and then the enemy just walks up here and stops your team from entering. Don't be that guy that doesn't support your duelist. You see your breach do a stun and you go, oh, I should swing off that because I'm using my teammate's abilities. Okay, someone pick an agent. If you duo queue, tell me what you play and what your teammate plays. What do you recommend to play as a solo queue? Priority of roles. I feel like initiators makes it harder with the risk of your team being rude. Okay, I'm going to let you in on a little secret here. And that secret is that your team will be rude no matter what you're playing. If you play to make people happy, you won't win. Like there is no way to play this game in a way that won't annoy somebody. Because you have to remember that the people who are getting annoyed at you, who are being rude to you, they are not tolerant of your learning process. They don't know you. They're not thinking you as a person. They are actually judging you with their knowledge of the game, which might not be correct. You can play Initiator perfectly and get flamed by someone who doesn't understand what you're doing. And that's fine. It can be really helpful if you're playing Initiator, if you're playing Smokes, to say what you're doing and why. So when I play Smokes, something I really like to do, on Haven especially, is... Let me actually hop on over to Valorant. We're going to hide Valorant and we're going to show Valorant. Okay, amazing. So something that I really like to do that my team often just doesn't understand, like, especially like if I'm, you know, playing with like someone lower rank. But let's say I am playing, I don't know, Brimstone or something. I try to avoid smokes where possible. Best route solo queue is where you have most fun with, absolutely. So when I play solo queue, I play Raze and I play Slover because I enjoy them. I play Raze because I have a very good sense of timing because it's literally my job to be good at the game and understand it. So I'm really good at the timing. So I play Raze so I can go really fast and go exactly where I need to at the correct time and have the most impact. The role for climbing, I would actually say that is the hardest is probably Sentinel because you're very solo. You play Omen a lot? Yeah, let's grab Omen. Okay, so one thing I really like to do is I really love to do this smoke. I think this smoke is really good. But people won't understand it. Like sometimes you'll push up and people will be like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you smoking here? So if I'm doing a smoke, if I'm doing like a Sova arrow or something, when I throw my arrow, I will say things like, I am arrowing backside, and then they'll understand. It is. It's because this is especially good on an eco round because it allows your team to shift walk up without just getting destroyed, and then you can bloom out of the smoke. So, Fade and Raze. Let's think about it. Fade and Raze, very popular in Haven in particular. This is like the dream duo. You can ship them if you like. So let's say you want to enter your entry. You're playing Raze, your teammate's playing Fade. You go here, who knows what the rest of your team is doing, and you say, okay, I'm going to grenade backside and then I'm going to satchel. What can Raze do to make this work? How can Raze enable this entry? So we're going to go hit and we're going to go boom, boom, and then Raze goes. Yeah, could do. So seizing backside is a great one here because you're basically making... So if this grenade hits anyone, you're making it a kill because they can't escape because of the seize. You can also have a haunt because what the haunt will do is the haunt will basically follow Raze and it will go up and it will go up and I need a different color. 1 second. So the haunt will basically go up and it'll catch anyone hit. It'll catch anyone playing here and it will basically be there so that when Raze lands, anyone here... Sorry, Prowler, what am I on about? You're absolutely right. I'm tired. Haunt left is good. Because this reveals them so that when Ray's lands and she is taking the space and fighting for it, she has perfect info and she has trails to see where they've gone. Now, ideally, you know, then you follow. Let's say you're playing on defense. Super common one is the Satchel Seize combo at the start of the round. This is amazing. It is powerful. You get your free kills if you're duo queue. Do it. Another thing that I will say is that if you're duo, if you're stack, please, please, please remember to also speak in team chat, not just in Discord. And I know it can be really tempting. It can be easy to forget to communicate with the rest of your team, like the remaining 3 players, rather than just the one person who you're duo with. What about Astra? Astra is a bit unique because she requires a long time. She has to get into Astra form, place a thing, and then go. But let's say your teammate is playing, I don't know, let's say your teammate's like a Sage main or something. This is not the best combination, but whatever. So you're on attack. Now, it is really important to remember when you're thinking about these combos that both of these people have guns. Like, doesn't matter that this is Sage. If Astra does a gravity well here, and then they both swing off this to kill anyone standing there, that's amazing. That's a great play. A really important thing that you can do, if you're low rank, this won't work as well because your teammates won't know what it means, at least not properly. You can do this with your duo, and you can do this if you're like a bit higher rank, is you can call for a crossfire. So, you know, just say cross with me. Maybe you're, I don't know, playing Neon, and you're here, and your Omen has smoked here. So Omen here. So this is not good positioning because they're not supporting each other. But if Omen plays maybe on this box or plays in Hell with the intention of making it so that anything that walks into this little cross dies, if this is a 2v1 situation and you know they're in CT, like you just win this round. This is pretty guaranteed because they can't check both of you at once. You catch them in 2 directions. I know someone who is Immortal 2 that makes this mistake because she's a Jet main. But she'll be like, yeah, I'll hold a cross with you. And then she peeks to see if they're coming. What is the problem with peeking to see if they're coming when you're in a crossfire? I assume people will know the answer. Yeah, you're exposing yourself unnecessarily. You have a guaranteed good play here. And then you're like, what if I just deal them? No. Exactly. Alex gets it. But earlier in this lesson, in this Galorants Learning Program, I talked a lot about your micro positioning. I talked about having an escape path. And what this means. The way this all adds up is, so like, what if you're in a crossfire? You can't have an escape. So if your teammate is here, and you are holding here, I mean, yeah, that's dangerous. Like, what's the best way to fight autopiloting while playing? Make your autopilot better. By which I mean, so when you autopilot, you will make certain mistakes. So you will autopilot things, guaranteed. When I'm playing games, I am autopiloting my crosshair placements and my movement because I'm thinking about it, right? Like, I am not thinking about my movement and my crosshair and what my mouse hand is doing and how I'm sitting and my utility and what abilities my team have, what the enemy has used. I'm not thinking about all of that at once. So some of this is going to be autopilot. And an important thing to remember is that when you get into a fight, you are autopiloting. When you see an enemy, you autopilot the fight because it is happening fast enough that you are not really making decisions. You're going on everything you have prepared for and everything you've done before that. When I say make your autopilot better, maybe you have a really bad habit of once you get one kill, your brain just turns off and then you try and find another kill, even if it's the stupidest thing in the world. And the way you counter this is when you're expecting this fight because maybe you're going to retake and you think, okay, they could peek out. You think, or maybe you're going to swing this. If you're going to swing it, you're expecting an enemy. Before you swing it, not after you've swung it, you think to yourself, I need to get one kill and disengage, and you make this decision ahead of time. You decide it before you get into a fight, and the more time you make that decision, the more times you catch yourself and you prepare for the fight in that way, the less you have to really think about it. Because you get one kill and then you back up. Rather than going, one kill, two kill, I'm dead because they were trading me. If the enemy's playing for trades, then you're going to die. Maybe your autopilot is crouching. A lot of people crouch. They see an enemy and they go, oh no. How do we stop this? We go, if I see an enemy, I'm going to disengage. I'm not going to crouch. Big one for crouching is people actually use it to control their recoil. So they do that to keep their crosshair in the same place. So they don't actually need to do as difficult recoil control. Now you can do this without crouching. But people do it to counter it going up. And this is just something they don't think about. They just autopilot it. The way you fix it is you go, okay, well, for one, I'm going to get better at like my recoil control. So every time I fire, I don't go like this. But I go like this. Or I actually drag down a bit rather than letting it go wherever it wants to. You just have to decide in advance. The more you decide in advance, the easier it gets, the less conscious effort it takes, until your autopilot just gets smarter. Another really good thing to do is if you're playing on attack, you are guaranteed, everyone does this, everyone has their set patterns. So for me, if I mostly play server on this map, so let me... Okay, so when I am playing on this map, and I go to A, I autopilot, like without thinking, my natural inclination is to go up this way. It is to, at the start of the round, go up onto belt. This might not always be the best play, but this is how I try to support my team. So I'll probably do that, and then maybe I'll drop down and I'll support them, or maybe I'll go around and I'll duel them. And then let's say I go down here. My autopilot when I get onto the site is I don't go this way. This is not a direction I go unless someone is here. But without thinking, I will almost always start moving back here. And I think it's because I've done it so many times that this is comfortable. This is nice. This is what I do. And then when I have to go to the other side, because maybe there's just like no point being here because it's all locked down and the enemy is trying to retake, I feel uncomfortable here. I don't like this. Because it's just not something that I do very much. I notice a lot of people on Fracture, when they push onto A site, or they go to retake on A site, usually on retake on A site, they will position so they can see the drop angle. And it's really difficult to explain why that's bad without showing you, so I am just going to show you. But this is another thing about positioning that is actually really relevant and really important for team play. So let me just quickly hop on over here. Also, I see Fracture. I just autopilot to Viper because that's how I play on Fracture. I do this because I'm comfortable on her. Who has any questions or difficulties or problems with team play and positioning? For example, how to have good comms. Maybe you struggle with some stuff. Oh. So I see a lot of people. So they will push on, usually from this direction. So this is a really common one. So let's say the team has gone here, they're taking this is fine. And then they position here as they move on to site. Now this is really bad, and it's really important to break any autopilot pathing that you do that is not good. And the reason why this is bad is because you cannot use crosshair placement in this situation. If they come up the ramp, you're going to have to flick and you don't know which direction they're going to. You don't know if they're going to peek from here, if they're going to peek from here. No matter what, you're relying on your aim and not your crosshair placement, and that is how you know it is bad position. Now there is one. I have to go soon. This will be ending soon, but I am going to post in Galorants Learning Program discussion channel, Positioning 101. And a really big one, in addition to having an escape path, is you want to keep the enemy in front of you. If you have to turn 45 degrees or more to deal with a potential enemy, you're in a bad position. If you're having to deal with two enemies in front of you, this is a bad position if you have to worry about two angles. So for example, holding sight from this angle is bad because you don't know if they're going to come from here or here or here. You're holding one and gambling and thinking about all these angles where they could come from. That's a really bad situation. Instead, if you hold here, then you catch them if they come here. And this basically gets them wherever they come from. So you want to minimize how much you have to move your mouse. And if you can't do that, if you cannot keep the enemy in front of you, you need to give up space. That's why holding this angle is really difficult, because you have to flick down if you need to. This only really works if you have someone holding here. I see this on bind a lot. Let me actually get an example over from B site. Oh, thank you for the production appreciation. So let's say you're playing defense and you're holding here. And you hear the enemy push onto site. This is now a bad position. The reason why this is a bad position is because I mean, for starters, this is a very uncontrolled situation. Even if they only come from this side, you're going to be overwhelmed. This is like a 1v2, 1v4, 1v5. But also, this is a bad position because they can just walk out this way. You're going to have to flick to deal with multiple angles. And if you're in a situation where you're like this, give up space. Just back out. This is why there are set angles that people hold from. This is why there are set smokes that people do. This is one of the reasons why smoke is amazing. This is one of the reasons why you need smoke to entry. Because as I enter onto site, sure, I can check this, but they could peek from here, here, here. And as I walk out, I'm exposing myself to, like, just how many angles? Just so many angles, right? Oh, now I can actually isolate these angles. And this is why smoke is essential for entering. And smoke can change your positioning too. Because if there wasn't that smoke, I would entry in a very different way. If there isn't that smoke, I am checking all of these angles and I'm positioning as far to this wall as possible to try and make this not a threat. I'm trying to, yeah. Any last questions? Hydrate, huh? As you wish, I shall hydrate. I have hydrated. My water tastes a bit funny. I think that means I haven't actually hydrated enough. You're very welcome. The Galorants Learning Program, let me just send the command. So the Galorants Learning Program is part of the Galorants community. We are, I am Coach Vixie. I am a full-time Valorant coach. I do freelance coaching, private coaching. I coach a EMEA Game Changers team. I'm very active in the Galorant server, in the Game Help Tips channel in particular. So, yeah, I post a lot of resources on Twitter. There'll be another one of these in 2 weeks run by me. There will also be other ones in a North American friendly time zone run by the teachers who handle those. You are very welcome. Now, for my next lesson, I'm thinking of doing one on how to play fast and influence rounds. And that's going to be a lot about timing. It's going to be about being closer than the enemy expects. It's going to be about using small openings to your advantage. So definitely be sure to check that in. I'm going to back this up on my YouTube, and I think the Galorants channel is going to do that too. So I guess goodbye. Have a good one.